Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to season 2 of ChatEBC, where we get to know the variety of different members. And we're a growing chapter now, so we have more and more newbies and more new members to the chapter who we're going to get to know over this season, as well as some of the long-standing stalwarts. So I'm delighted today to be welcomed by a relatively new member to EBC, Darren, who's in a beautiful, sunny, unusually beautifully sunny London. Darren, how are you?
I'm very good. I'm wearing my Hawaiian shirt just because in lieu of the lovely sun that we don't normally have in London.
Well, I mean, I'm in Dublin, so we have fairly similar weather, although we tend to be famously a little bit greener, but I don't think that's necessarily true, but our marketing is green. So Darren, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're based in London, but well, no, you're not. You're currently in London, but that is not necessarily a given as to wherever you are. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, it's a complicated answer. And it's also a complicated answer whenever you speak to anyone at EBC as well, where they're from, where they live, where their business is at. So I'm currently living in London. I actually moved back to London for this year after being away for about 25 years. I have been spending most of my time in Chicago, where I still have a place as well. So I'm splitting my time between London and Chicago and various places where EBC meets in Europe as well.
So, I mean, you've been in Chicago for a long time, but you haven't picked up the Chicago accent, I hear.
No. That's the one thing I haven't picked up. Chicago pizza is good, but the accent is not great. But Chicago's a lovely city. I've been living there since 2006, so coming up to 20 years. Prior to that, I actually left London and moved to Sydney in Australia and was there for about 5 years. And then a small stint in Southern Africa as well, between Zimbabwe and South Africa for about 4 years in the midst of all of that too. So, but I haven't picked up any of the accents there. I'm keeping the English accent.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you were only in London for about 4 months of your life, so the rest of it was traveling. So what led you first to go to, I mean, lots of international travel, Australia, South Africa, Chicago. What led you to go on these global adventures?
Mainly opportunity in business. Growing up in London, I always knew at some point that I would not be living in the UK. I just didn't know how I'd kind of escape and make that move. But then when I got into entrepreneurship, it just afforded me the ability to do that. So one of the companies that I started was a software company. We set up the Australian arm of it. And a co-founder, so moving over there eventuated that. When I sold that company, then I had the opportunity to move to the States, which I jumped at as well. And then it kind of followed suit with all the other moves as well. It's really been around opportunity and timing and things like that.
So you've been an entrepreneur from a very young age, then, from very early in your career.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I didn't have the traditional lemonade stand, but I had various entrepreneurial ventures, from music, having a UK rap label before it was cool, back in the vinyl days, all the way through to now kind of obviously tech and consulting and things like that. But I've always been an entrepreneur. Most of those entrepreneurial ventures made absolutely no money or cost me money. A few made me a bit of money.
That sounds familiar, unfortunately.
Yes, I think it's a common tale.
So you were in software in Sydney, in Australia. You sold that. Were you in South Africa before you went to the States, or?
No. So I sold that, went to the US, spent quite a few years there. Kind of got bored of the old tech software arena. Kind of wanted something a little bit more tangible, because at the end of the day, tech and consulting is a kind of more of a thought, something in the ether. So I actually went and had my midlife crisis in South Africa and Zimbabwe, and I became a miner, and we were doing mining at a very small scale, not the kind of the big mining that you imagine, but it was kind of fun.
Yeah, but I also don't really imagine you with a pickaxe going down a cave. So I mean, there was something in between those two.
Absolutely. We're kind of funding different operations there and kind of fine tuning them and getting them more efficient and so on. But learned a lot. Didn't know anything about mining up till that point. Learned a lot. Had a load of fantastic adventures. It's kind of my Indiana Jones moment, I'd like to call it. But it's kind of nice actually doing something which then resulted in a product that you could touch and feel and sell. That was kind of the first time I'd really done that in my life, and that was a lot of fun.
This is one of the things that I absolutely love about having conversations with EOers. I was in America, I got bored, I know nothing about mining, I know nothing about South Africa, but heck it, let's go try that for a while and make a go of it. I mean, it's wonderful. So then you were doing the mining for a while, and then you decided, okay, back to the States, and then you set up what you're currently doing, the collective, right?
Yeah, well, I went back into the software arena, and then through that venture, that new venture in the States, I had the opportunity to meet my current co-founder, and then got into the consulting arena around that sort of data analytics aspect. So still in the kind of the same ballpark. But again, kind of my first foray into true consulting. I've always had consulting as part of the tech that we've been doing, but not as the main driver. So a human-based business, so brand new again, and kind of learning from the ground up some of the nuances of that. And we've been doing that for 5 years and grown it exponentially, and it's going very well, and enjoying kind of all the new learnings there and all the curveballs that come with entrepreneurship as well around.
Yeah, and the curveballs that come with dealing with people as opposed to binary machines.
Absolutely. There's days where the machines are nice, and there's other days where you enjoy the humans as well. So it's an interesting up and down.
So you're not in software anymore. It's purely focused on the consulting side of it in a software niche. Is that
correct? Yeah. So we consult specifically helping mid to large size organizations in the US implement some particular software from Microsoft. So if you've heard of Microsoft Azure, Power BI, the new product is Fabric. So all the data products and data tools that Microsoft produces, we are experts in, and we help organizations strategize around that, implement the tools, train, support, basically meet them where their needs are, and support them throughout their sort of life cycle journey with those tools. And really what those clients are trying to do is better analyze their data, better forecast and plan. And then obviously a lot of them are trying to get to the nirvana of artificial intelligence and AI, and be more predictive around and automated around all of their processes.
So, I mean, all of that, I mean, at the moment, as we all know, that's a huge area of, I mean, you said the word exponential earlier on, but it is, I mean, the amount of almost daily huge leaps that are being made in that whole arena, it must be almost head spinning to have a team keeping up to speed with all of that.
Yeah, it really is. And to be frank, it was kind of that way even prior to 2 or 3 years ago when the generative AI stuff came out, because there were so many advances even in the base products that we were dealing with then in Azure and Power BI, that you really needed it to be a full-time job to keep up with. And that's really why a lot of our clients hired us then, was to kind of, hey, look, we just don't know, we don't have the breadth and wealth of experience there. It's taken to another level, obviously, with all the generative AI aspect of it, and also kind of wading through a lot of the information, which can be, can be really overwhelming. So a lot of our clients are coming.
You can't really get ChatGPT just to summarize it for you.
Well, you can. That's probably a good start, actually. But to really kind of wade into it, I think you need to be dedicated to it. Obviously, you need to have some understanding of it. But even as professionals in this arena, it is a lot of information coming and a lot of changes, literally on a daily basis. Before you used to have update cycles, once a year, and then, once a month, and then every couple of weeks. And now it's every hour you're seeing another update cycle or a new version of an LLM coming out and so on. So what we do is really try and simplify that and look at it more, not so much from the technology side of things, but from where do you want to try and get to, where are you now, and then trying to connect those dots in the most effective way that we know today, but also will be applicable for any changes in growth which are inevitable in this area as well.
So before you got into that consulting, were you doing a lot of the Azure stuff and the Power BI? Were you doing that as a service for other people, and then you got into the consulting side of it, or were you in a different part of tech before you got into the consulting?
It was different but related. So I've always been in the analytics, business intelligence, forecasting and planning arena, but on the software side of things. And this is really where things have kind of changed and evolved, is that you used to have all of these SaaS softwares, and many of them, across many different source systems and things like that, and kind of bolt them all together and choose between, A and B company and software, and kind of look at the upsides and pros and cons between the two. That's really kind of changed now. So what we're looking at on the consulting side of things is really not necessarily what the best tool is, but how do you get from point A to point B based upon your particular nuances. And that's really where we're seeing a lot of changes and upsurge in kind of consulting need with our clients, as opposed to kind of on the software technical side of things.
So I know that this is a fairly remote business. I mean, it's based in the US, but you have clients in different places. You're living in England now again for a while, but also I know kind of traveling around. Tell us a little bit about how you're managing that. Is it remote first, or is it just by nature of the industry, or how is that working?
So funny enough, we started the company a couple of months before COVID, and we couldn't afford an office.
Always a recipe for success.
Exactly. Didn't want to pay for an office. So we were like, okay, we're going to be a remote first only company. We actually didn't realize at the time how against the grain that was, because the traditional consulting world was all about, being in an office, being on the road, going to client sites, and various things like that. So we were able to perfect that model early on. And then obviously when COVID hit, we were nicely placed for that. So that was very fortunate. But the other aspect of it, apart from kind of the resource aspect of it, is that we didn't really want to go into an office. We wanted to have a business where we could do great work at a high quality, but also have a life as well. Whether it's taking the dog out for a walk in the beautiful sunshine midday, that sort of thing, or whatever you want to do. And that kind of balance was really important to myself and my co-founder. So we started it in that fashion. And it was a little bit of, we didn't know what we didn't know, but what we did was, intentionally make it so. So when everybody started, going remote and so on, and maybe struggling with that, we were kind of well placed for that, and had a lot of systems in place, not just to make the work, but also for the human element of it as well. Because at the end of the day, it's great having all of that freedom, but you need that kind of social interaction as well, that water cooler talk and so on. So we spent a lot of time, effort, as well as money, replacing that aspect of it, but with more fun experiences. So we get the whole team together at least once a quarter for an experience which is curated, not your traditional, just come and get some nachos around in the pub,
and get drunk.
Something much cooler than that. So we spend a lot of time and effort kind of around that aspect, human element, to make sure that the remote element is optimized, basically.
And are the majority of your team based in the US, or are they international as well?
Yeah, so the majority of our team are in the US and right across the US. And like I said, we bring them together quite a bit. We've even hired folks who have worked for other companies but never met, but then they came and worked for Collective and met in person and things like that. So we kind of pride ourselves in that fashion. And then we also have other activities and various other things that happen during the weeks and the months between those in-persons as well, to again kind of foster that team spirit, that culture, and to really build upon that as well.
Very good. So you've been doing that for, you said 2006. You started this business before COVID, so.
Yeah, just before COVID. So we're just over 5 years old now, going into our 6th year here. Yeah.
And I mean, I know you're still in the, let's say the honeymoon period of the business. You're still, everything's going well, but I'm always curious about if you weren't doing exactly this, if you had a magic wand now. I'm really curious what you're going to say, because the last time you decided to do something different, you went to South Africa and started mining. But if you weren't doing this right now, what do you think would be something that you'd like to explore or you'd like to have a look at?
If I wasn't doing this right now, I'd be looking at kind of actual experiential tours, and I've got a big affinity for Africa from having lived there. I'd be based in Africa and working on a load of experiential tours within certain destinations in Africa, which is kind of off the beaten path that people wouldn't know, which wouldn't be on the guidebooks.
Interesting. And are those places that you've been to, or are there places that you know about from your time there?
A little bit of both. So some I've been to, and I was like, wow, why is this not even, anywhere out there, and really untouched and real proper experiences to really absorb kind of the country, the culture, the people, that sort of thing.
That sounds spectacular. That'd be amazing. I mean, I know there's a lot of EOers who are in experiential stuff in South Africa, and people that I've met, some are in experiential stuff, some are in safaris and things like that. So, but it sounds spectacular the way you describe it. So what is, I mean, obviously in EO, we share the 5%. So this is public forum, so I'm not necessarily asking you to share 5%, but what's on your mind at the moment? Is there anything which is giving you a bit of either pause for thought or something that you're pondering at the moment?
I think it's kind of like a lot of our clients as well. It's kind of, what does all of the movement in the AI arena mean for me, for my company, for my people, my life even. So I find myself thinking about that on a daily basis, and kind of trying to figure that out, because as we mentioned, that's evolving so quickly, and that creates a lot of opportunity in my mind, and we're definitely leaning into that as an organization and benefiting from that. But also equally, it creates a lot of uncertainty and some angst as well. So kind of really kind of trying to predict forward as much as one can, and at least be on had some momentum around it. I think that's the key for me, is that if you don't have some momentum, whatever you're doing, even if it's a little each day, then two things. Well, I think kind of you probably actually get left behind, but more mentally, I think that's the mental shift as well. At least if you're doing something around it, you're moving forward, and mentally it's a little bit easier for you.
I remember mentoring somebody who was, they were building their own LLM, and they were building all of their own models around how they can teach people in a personalized way. And they were building out all of this. And I think I was talking to them then a week after, or 2 weeks after ChatGPT came out, the first version, like 2.5 or whatever it was. And she just went, yep, forget what we've just been doing for the last year and a half. We're now going to use this. We're going to use their APIs because it's infinitely better than what we were building. So we're going to build on top of that. And that gave them an advantage because they already were curious about that world and were able to build it. It was a real advantage for them moving quickly. And I just bumped into them literally yesterday, and they're expanding into the Middle East and into North America soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and I found that as well. I spent a Sunday a few weeks ago just building out a marketing custom GPT, and I was quite proud of myself at the end. It was a little bit clunky. It took a couple of hours to output the outputs I want, but it was pretty good. And then I just happened to be browsing some LinkedIn post literally a week later, and there was a tool already built, and it was free as well, and it was much better than mine. And I was like, okay, that's good. At least I've got the knowledge, but let's move on. Now I'll get that tool to do it.
But I even remember when I was in college and I was doing a little bit of programming and a little bit of coding on websites. Being able to understand the basics meant that when you saw these tools, you could really tweak them in ways that other people couldn't, because you weren't just cookie cuttering it. So I think it's really important. Curiosity for me is a really important skill for people to develop.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think definitely with this wave, it's not even like the coding wave where you had to kind of get somewhat deep into it, be somewhat plugged in, and your brain had to be somewhat kind of attuned to that. This is, in my opinion, so much easier. Literally anybody can pick this up. You've got the tutor in front of you as well, so you can ask the tutor the questions, and the bits that you're getting stuck on, and poke around and play. And I think that's the key. That's the key word that I use a lot with my team is just have a play. It's available there to you. Just have a play. See what you can do.
That's very cool. I like that. Have a play. So how long you've been in EO? You've been in EBC for 2 years now, I think. But you were in EO before that, right?
Yeah. So I've been in EO coming up to my 4th year, I believe now. Time flies. And actually it coincided kind of shortly after we started the company, after we started the collective. And I've been in EBC now for two forums, 2 retreats, so about 6 months, I guess. Maybe a little bit more.
Is that all? I thought you've been in for more than that. Okay. So you said you've been in EO for 4 years, just around the time you started collective, but you started collective before COVID. So COVID, the timelines messed me up for how long different times were. So did you join EO before COVID or since COVID?
No, it was after COVID, but it was just shortly after COVID as well. That's what I actually found out about EO. I didn't even know about EO. Happened to get a random cold email inviting me to some drinks. Went there because nobody had been out the door for a year or whatever, and was like, wow, I want to join. They wouldn't allow me to join because we're slightly under the threshold at that point in time. But as soon as we got over that threshold, I happily joined and got a massive amount from it. And then I found out, through hushed whispers around this EBC thing, and I thought it was fake news to start off with. You meet in all these cool places once a quarter, and you meet for a few days, and this sounds like it's bullshit. Let's have a look into this. But when I looked into it, it sounded amazing, and obviously I love to travel, and it just made sense.
Very cool. So you've been in only for 2. So you've had. So are you going to the next one? Which is we're going to date this now because the next one is Edinburgh, but won't be there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not able to make the Edinburgh one, but the next couple I'm definitely hitting up.
So then you've given us an idea of what's special about EBC for you and the travel element of it. Let me ask you about, because you were in a traditional forum and you're relatively new to EO and the format of forum and everything else. When you came to your first EBC, which is mashup forum every time, how did you feel about that?
Well, I think I used a particular word to describe it, and it was puckered up, meaning I was quite scared. Probably not overtly, but certainly internally I was quite scared. And the reason for that was that I'd done many forums with my Chicago chapter, my Chicago forum prior, But this seemed like, because it was over a number of days, it was with people that you weren't familiar with, and then not going to be familiar with, the next time around. Much more challenging and much more, confronting for me. But I have to say, as soon as I got into that, into the format, it was, released my bucketiness, as it were. No, it was very
not too much. Hopefully, that could have been
not
messy.
too much. No, not embarrassingly. But yeah, it was very nice. And in fact, now reflecting upon it and kind of the difference between doing your monthly forum in a traditional chapter through to this, I much prefer this format personally, because I feel like you get much deeper. Everybody shares. Almost everybody is on the other side as well. So I think you get to know your people much quicker at a much deeper level. Personally, I felt my sharing went to another level as well. And then there's just that whole format of being together for a weekend, really discovering a new place altogether as well, brings another level of closeness as well.
Very good. So I have a couple of random questions now from my random question generator. So we'll do 5 of these random questions. So the first thing that pops into your mind. So the first question is, what's the most rewarding part of your week?
The most rewarding part of my week is actually taking my dog out for walks.
Okay. So actually, funny enough, you mentioned this, that I laughed a little bit internally when you said taking the dog for a walk on a sunny day. So I was thinking, okay, so you built your entire company around 3 days a year in Irish and English weather where you can take your dog for a walk on a sunny afternoon. So next question then, what's your favorite personal tradition?
My favorite personal tradition. So every year, so I obviously living in many different spots in the world and so on. My family still live in the UK, in London. So my favorite personal tradition is once a year at least, we get together, normally around kind of Christmas or New Year, in a different place around the world, and everybody gets in there, and we spend a week or so together.
Cool. Where was the last place?
It was in Mexico, in Tulum.
Oh, cool. Next question. What is one thing you wish you knew when you were younger?
I wish I knew just to chill out a bit more and be easier with myself and my thoughts as well. That everything in general will work out okay. There's always going to be ups and downs and tears and happiness, but overall, you're all good and you'll be fine.
Fourth question. What's something that makes you laugh no matter how many times you see it?
I mean, I don't know whether this is the direct answer to this question, but whenever I watch Gogglebox, that makes me absolutely end up in stitches every single time. There's something about people watching the TV and then doing their own private commentary, which is absolutely bloody hilarious.
So for some people who are watching this, it might not know what Gogglebox is. It might not be the phenomenon outside. And it is literally, you're watching TV, which is a TV show about people watching TV and their commentary on the different TV shows. And some of the characters are hilarious. So final question then. What's the first thing you'd do if you won the lotto or the lottery?
I would buy an old Land Rover Defender, fully kitted out, and pop the dog in there, and we'd be off. Don't know where.
driving back down to South Africa?
Who knows? South Africa, South America, Iceland, wherever the road takes us.
Very good. So the last bit here is a question from a previous guest. So the previous guest was the last guest of season 1, who was Edward Brink. And he asked the question, and I'm going to, once we finish this recording, I'll get you to give me a question for the next guest. So the question Edward wanted to know, or the answer Edward wanted to know, what would be the best news that you could receive today? Not that you've just won the lotto and you're getting a car to drive with your dog. Maybe it is.
The best news that I could receive today, that we've become, Collective has become number 1 on the Inc. 5000. We've placed there highly a number of times. I think we're going to be up there this year, so that'd be cool. Very cool.
Darren, thank you very much for your time. Looking forward. I mean, I won't see you in Edinburgh because I won't be there and because you won't be there, but we'll see you in Bulgaria, I think is next after that.
Yeah.
And hopefully at many more of these events. So thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.